What caused the Norman invasion of England in 1066 AD? Did Harold Godwinson actually break his oath, or is the Bayeux Tapestry just Norman propaganda? First of all, what is the Bayeux Tapestry? Bayeux is a town in France. Okay, Bayeux is a town in the northwestern part of France, Normandy. If we open the map, okay, it won't show us too much detail. Maybe it will. Let's zoom out. So here we have Bayeux is on the west coast of France. Okay, and let us now do that. Yeah. So the Bayeux Tapestry is this Bayeux Tapestry now. Yeah, very famous, stunning 11th century embroidered linen, 70 meters long, that visually narrates the Norman conquest of England in 1066 AD, ending with the Battle of Hastings. And this is what it looks like. And is it propaganda? Well, a lot of it is propaganda, obviously. It is the Norman version of events, of what happened, the entire story. So, who was Harold Godwinson? He was the king of England in the year 1066 AD. Now, what oath are we talking about, and so on? That's a long story, right? So, Harold Godwinson's father, no, it was Edward the Confessor who was the king of England before Harold Godwinson. And Edward the Confessor died without leaving a male heir. Edward the Confessor was the son of Ethelred II. Ethelred II was king of England until he was ousted by the Vikings. King Canute who was Viking, he invaded England, kicked out King Ethelred II, and ruled England ruled what is now Britain for a few decades. And after Canute was king, his sons were kings of various parts of England. One was Arthur Canute, the other was Harold Harefoot. Harold Harefoot or something. Yeah, probably Harold Harefoot. So when Ethelred was sent into exile, his son Edward the Confessor was also in exile. And eventually, once the Viking age, you could say, ended, or once the Viking rule over England, once Canute is dead and his sons are no longer in power, either Arthur Canute or Harold Harefoot, that's when Edward the Confessor comes back to England, and the nobility of England, they elect him the king. The nobility of England who actually elected kings was called the Wighton or Witenagamot or something. Witenagamot. Yeah, Witenagemot. It was a supreme council in Anglo-Saxon England, assembly of wise men, high-ranking nobles, church leaders who advised the kings of laws and blah, 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 that sort of thing. So they elected Edward the Confessor as the king of England. So Edward the Confessor becomes the king. And Edward the Confessor, was in exile while the Vikings were ruling England. Edward the Confessor's mother was Norman. And that's why Edward was in Normandy. Okay, in exile. And while Edward the Confessor was in Normandy in exile, he allegedly made a promise to William of Normandy, William the Bastard as he was then known. So allegedly Edward made a promise to William, the Duke of Normandy, that he will give William the crown of England. And later Harold Godwinson was also in exile in Normandy for a few years. And it is alleged that he also had made a promise on some holy sacred relics that he would make William, the Duke of Normandy, the next king of England. So Edward becomes king of England and William does nothing. But Edward dies without a male heir. So the Witenagemot once again comes together and they appoint Harold Godwinson as the king of England in the year 1066 AD. Now, William of Normandy says that this is all wrong because Harold has promised me the crown of England. But the point is that Harold did not have the right or the authority to give the crown to somebody. He was elected the king by the Witan, and as such, he had to serve his kingdom. He did not have the authority to give the crown to somebody else, but whatever. So, so William of Normandy, the Duke of Normandy, he got the pretext for a war, and he also somehow secured the support of the Vatican. So he then had assembled a big navy which could cross the English Channel, and he crossed the English Channel in 1066 AD. And then there's this war. Harold Godwinson, my goodness, what a guy he was. So in the year 1066 AD, Harold Godwinson has just been appointed the King of England a while ago. And he gets news that in the north part of England, there's this huge Viking invasion force that has landed. And who is leading the Vikings? It is King Harald Hardrada and Tostig Godwinson, the brother of Harold Godwinson, traitor. So Harold goes all the way north to fight Tostig, his brother Tostig, and King Harald Hardrada. He defeats them, kills them both. It is what it is. It's a brutal battle. The Battle of Stamford Bridge, 1066 AD. The battle is just over. His army is beaten, bruised, but they're victorious. And he gets the news that William of Normandy has landed in South England, around Hastings. So then he has to go all the way from the north of England, march his army all the way south, his beaten, bruised army. And then then his army meets William of Normandy in Hastings. And because of bad luck or whatever, Harold is killed by an arrow to his eye. And William becomes victorious. And he goes from being called William the Bastard to being called William the Conqueror. So that is the story of the Norman invasion of England in 1066 AD.